Hey everybody, it's Glenda here from Cynically Glenda. I want to talk about the gossip world, and more particularly the gossip world that surrounds the Shadowverse. But I'm sure that a lot of what I'm about to talk about applies to a lot of other genres, musicians, actors, bands, etc. Media personalities, celebrities, politicians, whoever. In this day and age, we have decided that being incredibly judgmental of other people, particularly those in the public eye, and making sarcastic remarks about them, body image, judgment on the decisions they make, the life they lead, blah, 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 is okay. And the Americans termed a phrase or coined a word, a phrase, snark, to explain that kind of activity when it comes to gossiping. A lot of people think it's just in jest, humour. Other people think it's just being sarcastic. But if you delve into the world that is gossip forums and snark forums and places like Tattle and Reddit, Tattle Life, and Reddit, you will discover that it can be a really nasty place. Homophobia, over-judgmental opinions, misinformation, just making crap up. And this happens across the board on everybody. But I'll talk about the Shadowverse. And I'm talking about a small group. Shadow Diaries with Stephanie Jarvis. Dan Preston, who has escaped to rural France. The Pathricks, Doing It Ourselves. And so on and so forth. Now, recently, from what I understand, we'll go straight to Billy Patrick. He and his partner, Gwen, the mother of his two children, have separated. And as a result, because she owns both the chateau and the convent they purchased about 3.5 years ago, all the work has stopped on that. And besides, I think Billy kind of got a little bit bored with it. And my personal opinion, and this is just my personal opinion, I think when they bought the place, they didn't realise how much work it was going to take. And I think that maybe what happened was, as time went on, they realised that this work was going to take a lot of time and it was going to take a lot of money. And when you're constantly working at something day after day, year after year, and you cannot see an end in sight, it can be a bit disheartening and it can be overwhelming. But I kind of get that the convent was bought so that Billy had something to do. And he was able to earn an income from that. Well, anyway, back in January, he disappeared off the face of the earth. He was gone from YouTube for about 2 months. And there was all kinds of speculation, and there is still speculation. For example, He was photographed with a Marina Lazarus, who it turns out is like a life coach. And apparently, according to the gossip community, he's involved with her. He left Gwendolyn for this woman. Now, my thought is maybe he came across this woman because of what she sells and what she talks about, and he's a bit of a fan. And it helped him to sort of wake up to a few things. But I don't think they're involved. It was just a picture that was taken with the two of them together. He may have gone to some sort of an event that she had going, or he may have, I don't know, been somewhere, bumped into her in a restaurant or something, and had a photo taken with her. But there has been so much speculation. He's been on Ozempic, because he's lost a lot of weight. He's an alcoholic. He screwed a lot of people over. He upset a lot of people. And with everything that's been going on with two other channels, Yanis the Homewrecker, and Yanis his English is not his first language. And Panhard Brut with Stan, who, as far as I'm aware, they were actually, Sadie, Billy's sister, was involved with Stan for a little while. With the goings on in those channels and the disappearance of a couple of videos off Yanis's channel where he's had conversations in the comments with people, and a comment made by the former cameraman of Billy's, plus there's a woman who is renovating one of the convent apartments. She's sticking her 2 cents worth in. We don't know what happened. We will never know what happened other than hearsay from people around them. Billy's brother Michael has moved to Spain with a friend of his, Andrew, and is trying to set up a business. And you've got Mama Petherick, Sherry, putting her 2 cents worth in. Apparently, her and Mick are still living, their father is still living at the chateau. Whether they are or not, I don't know. All I know is there is a lot of hearsay, there is a lot of gossip, there is a lot of guessing. Now, there is an article that I read about Billy getting bariatric surgery, which could explain the weight loss, because he has lost quite a lot of weight, and so did Gwendolyn. And the boy smokes and he enjoys a beer. It doesn't mean he's an alcoholic. And because of the size of his stomach having been shrunk by the kind of surgery that he had, his ability to drink the way he, say, did when he was 20, he can't do that now. So maybe 1 glass of beer a day is actually good for flushing out your kidneys. That comes from a renal specialist. So I was part of Reddit, and I also read a lot of posts in Tattle Life. And it's really nasty in there. I went over to Reddit to see, because I had an issue with Chateau Diaries and what the money was being spent on. And there was work being started and it was never being finished. And there was never any explanation. And yet you can look at other chateaus, Vivian and Simon's channel, Chateau Love, when they start a renovation, it may take them months, but it gets finished. Chateau de la Lasalle with Terry, Ash, and Terry's mother Tracy. They're almost finished their chateau. Now, I know it's not as big as Stephanie's chateau, but they're almost finished it. And I mean, the work that has gone into it is just, it's phenomenal. Stephanie Jarvis has been at her chateau for over 20 years. A lot of work has been done, and to be honest with you, the original work that was done was never filmed, photographed, or I think she does have photographs of some of it, but from what I can understand, it's quite bad. It was never up to standard. But what I see, and this is even before she got into the Chateauverse, she was always one to travel, and she always spent money. She never seemed to have a job of any kind or any income of any kind. I kind of get the impression from all of the information I've gathered that her parents financed her entire lifestyle, particularly her father, and they actually purchased for her everything she needed: cars, an apartment in London, and I think they financed her share of the purchase of Chateau de Lalande. And the little bits and pieces I've learned along the way, Nick Larkin, who was her original partner in the chateau, he had to get a mortgage to be able to pay for his. And he was sending her money, and not just to pay for his mortgage, because that would have come straight out of his income. He was sending her money to keep her afloat. And then Michael Potts bought in, and he had to go out and get some sort of a mortgage. And he renovated a small apartment called the Tack Room. But there is so much work that needs to be done to that chateau that has not been finished. There's always excuses, like spending close to €1 million to renovate a small chapel. Yes, it's beautiful. I think it is stunning. And with a recent conversation with Billy recently, spending €300,000 a year on renovations and all costs relating to that, like wages for contractors, etc. She alluded to the fact that she spends at least $350,000 a year. Now, with the travel season that she's had since the beginning of November last year, I reckon with all the shopping and all the purchasing they've done, and I'm talking Phillips purchases within auction houses and the storage fees for restoring things there, and all of the travel, like I said, just in the last 6 months or even 5 months, that would be at least a minimum of €100,000, if not higher, probably closer to $250,000, because the woman is not into buying cheap. She likes to throw around designer names and brand names. She's always wearing new clothes, and they're all designer labels. She was very much into those before she became famous. What she was telling us and what we were seeing, and the amount of money that is coming into her chateau and the number of people she has now employed, the 20 years, she should have completely renovated that chateau, but she hasn't. So getting back to my point, I joined these chat forums because I was seeing some comments whenever I Googled anything to do with any discrepancies on her part. I was finding these chat forums, and I actually found comments and posts from ex-patron members and how badly they were treated just by asking simple, innocent questions. They would have their memberships cancelled, that month's fee was returned, and they were blocked and banned. I have been shadow banned from the YouTube channel, so I can watch the videos, I can like the videos, but any comments I put on there, nobody sees. I think she may be able to see them, but her subscribers can't see them. And there's an easy way to check, but I'm not going to go into it here. I had a comment. I joined her Patreon account for 1 month because I wanted to see if there was anything on her Patreon videos that could enlighten me into where the money was going, what work was getting done, what was happening, etc., etc. I wanted to learn more about the people that lived there. I made a comment, and it was just a basic comment. Yes, it was a little bit judgmental. And someone came back, another patron actually commented on my comment. And just as I was typing a reply back to this other patron, the whole comment, the whole comment thread, it was deleted. And I worked out it was about 11 o'clock in the morning, and I know that Stephanie is a late sleeper. And there's only 2 people that access her Patreon account, and that is Philip Jansen and Stephanie Jarvis. One of those 2 deleted my comment and the whole thread that came after it. So I know what it's like to be shut out if I so much as do not flood that woman with praise. I know that she's shifty. I know that a lot of what she does is a scam. The amount of money that she has coming into her whole situation is more than enough to pay the people she employs and do renovation work and still travel and enjoy life. But apart from the kitchen, you never really see anything the chapel. You never see anything even come close to being finished. And in the last stretch, even in those situations, there are certain things that haven't been completed. And there's always an excuse. Oh, it takes months to do this. And you know, we had trouble finding blah, blah, blah. There's always some excuse. And like I said, I went into these chat forums to talk to people who understood what, and so I didn't feel like I was going mad. But the unfortunate thing is, what happens is these groups get taken over by the nasty people. You know, those mean girls and boys, those mean kids that you had to deal with in high school? Amp that up to adult level, and pure nastiness and lack of conscience and lack of empathy, and there you go. And that's what you're dealing with in there. Now, I've always presented what I say or have said in these forums with information, with fact, with truth, by studying situations. And I found just recently that I had been a member of this one particular community for over a year. I was targeted by a stalker, and I changed my account a few times to get away from that because I just wanted him to leave me alone. I rejoined, let the moderators know who I was, and they knew who I was. And now just recently, I discover I'm making posts for the forum, and they're not being approved. And yet, a week or so earlier, they were fine. But what I was doing, I was showing people what Snark is all about. And I noticed that, particularly to do with this whole Billy Petherick, Gwendolyn Michelle situation, and talk about going off on tangents as far as that's concerned. And then the demand for minute by minute detail by these people. I was actually speaking up, but I was doing it in such a way so that it was sarcastic, but it was based in truth. And that's why I got shut out. And this is what happens in those communities. They will, and I've seen so many members who actually spoke up about the homophobia in this particular one. Sorry about the movement of the camera. And they didn't like it. They were bullied out of the group. Someone else spoke up about the AI memes, which were really annoying because we're getting bombarded with them. Like, there'd be up to 10 a day, and they were all heavily edited, heavily, nothing was based in honesty or truth. And when people spoke up about it, especially the moderators, were going, oh, no, it's fine. And I speak up and say, no, it's not, because it annoys a lot of people. And the person who was doing it, she's since hardly ever in the group, thank Christ. Because she was rude as well, big time rude. But I found I was being targeted by the regular members who were trying to bully me. And there was one that was like, it was like being wrapped over the knuckles by the head nun teacher at your religious school every time you spoke out of turn. And they were so pedantic about pointing out things like the difference between a hypothesis and a theory. And I'm thinking, did you just go and Google that? Really? Because I went and Googled it after. And sure enough, what they quoted was exactly what Google said. But I'm thinking every time, it was, no, it's this way. No, it's there. And I got sick of it. Anyway, I've since gotten rid of the app. I haven't spent a couple of days on there. I deleted my other account that I had and started a new one. And apart from not having been on there long enough, I've qualified to be able to use some of these forums. And you look at one forum that opposes all of the snark, and it's sort of like the opposite version of the original Chateau snark. That's pick on both sides. And often the people in the original forum are going into these new ones that have been started by this idiot who was my stalker, who I later found out was my stalker. They're grabbing information from each other. And it's sort of like, it's the whole pot calling the kettle black situation. It's like, gone are the days of people in the public eye, regardless of what they're doing. There was a certain amount of mystery to them. And you only got to know about what they were willing to share in magazines, on the news, in TV shows, newspapers, etc. There was a certain air of mystery about our actors and singers and celebrities and so on and so forth. Now we have a population that, and I saw this back in the late 80s, early 90s, where I worked with a group of women. We called them the part-timers because they were part-time. But they would literally talk about a couple of soap operas at the time. I think it was The Bold and the Beautiful and one of the others, where they would literally talk about these people like they were friends or they knew them. It was like that was sort of the conversation. And they would have whole massive conversations. And I realized that some people never grow up. Some people are still those bitchy little cliquey groups in high school. The mean groups who go around and spread rumors about people, who make up stories about people, who bully people regardless of the damage that they do. Only now that's gone online, and you have whole chat forums like Reddit and Tattle Life, and I think there's Quora, and there's a few other, where people go on and they literally, all the mean people of the world get together and they do this whole gossip thing. And they sort of, the way they talk, they sort of expect, they have, they expect people like the Pethricks and Stephanie Jarvis and Philip Jansen, who they're convinced has a lavender marriage. So what if they do? Does it really matter if Philip Jansen is heterosexual, bisexual, gay? Does it really matter? It's none of their business. And if he and Stephanie have a relationship that works for them and it happens to be a lavender marriage, so what? They go on across the world. I have a friend who until recently was in what you would call a lavender marriage. She was gay. Her husband was straight. They had children together. They stayed married to the day that her husband died recently. But she was a lesbian. And people who are whatever can actually be in committed relationships, whether they're gay, they're straight, they're trans, they're bi, whatever. They can be in normal relationships. Oh, but it's like, the big age. I'm in a marriage where my husband is nearly 16 years younger than me. But we've been together for 22 years and married for 20. And we've got a good marriage. It's been through the ringer with a lot of things that's gone on, but we're still together after all this time, and we still care about each other. The love that you feel for a person in the beginning of a relationship is far, far different to the feelings you have for a person, the love, when you've been together for 20 odd years. It's totally different. But these people, if someone was to pry into their personal business, oh my God, But they feel as though they have a right to pry into other people's lives just because they put themselves out on social media or they put themselves out on the internet. They share with you what they want to share, and that's it. There is a lot of things that these people don't share with you. There are personal things you don't know about. And a relationship breakup, that's messy and painful enough as it is, especially when there are kids involved. And the last thing they need is people sticking their nose in their business. And that's what these people are doing, and they're speculating and making shit up. All because their lives are so boring, so negative, they are so jaded about life that they feel like they have to attack other people and make shit up about other people just to get off, just to find some meaning in life. And I can honestly say I'm ashamed that I was a part of these groups. I did not indulge in the homophobia and the nastiness. But I joined these groups to find other people like myself who were questioning what was going on Chateau Diaries. Oh, that just reminded me. Amory and Dan Preston, Dan the gardener, and Amory, who is a contractor to Stephanie, his cousin. They had a bit of a bromance happening, and they are still the best of mates, and they have been the best of mates. Dan moved a few hours away. His relationship also broke up, and according to the gossip mongers, they were no longer in their bromance. But they've always been friends the whole entire time. They just keep their friendship away from the cameras. They still care about each other. They still, when they're together, it's just like the old days when they first met each other. And this is what I mean. There was this whole story about the bromance ending over Dan's relationship breaking up and him cheating with someone, and Natty was being a bitch, that's Amory's wife, and didn't want them to be friends anymore because she was friends with Annalise. And I'm going, oh my God. Just because they don't share their friendship on the internet, it doesn't mean they're not friends. And that's been proven recently. It's an unusual world, the Chateauverse. And it's an expensive world. And the renovation of chateaus is not something that you do for profit. You do for love, you do for the appreciation of restoring the beauty of these old buildings. And it's the same with any old buildings, heritage buildings around the world. I'm glad to say I've washed my hands of that. I still doubt a lot of Stephanie Jarvis's integrity and what she spends her money on, because what you see in front of her, even if she gets cheap flights and everything she says, like friends putting her up in 5-star hotels and having mystery anonymous friends buying them hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars worth of things and sending them to them this is a bit hard to fathom. I watch the Chateau Diaries because I enjoy watching it. I like the people that are on there. I like Pavlina. I subscribe to her Instagram because she shares stories of the two cats, Ruby and Lulu. There's a video of her feeding one of the peacocks by hand. Pavlina is an amazing and very interesting woman. She's very clever in the garden. Marie is the same. She's very interesting. There are so many others from that whole Shadowverse that are not as pretentious and as shallow as some of them are, that I enjoy watching. But I don't pry into their lives. It's none of my business why Dan and Annalise broke up. It's none of my business why Billy and Gwendolyn broke up. It's sad that particularly the convent's never going to be finished, because that is a beautiful building, and the work that Billy and his family put into it so far is phenomenal. The kitchen in the convent is, oh my God, that is beautiful. And the thing is, it's timeless. It's been designed in such a way that in 100 years' time, it'll still look good. Yes, Billy spent $200,000 on that kitchen, but that's his business. It's none of our business how much he spends on his renovations. He's now bought a boat, and I'm not at all sure that I want to watch it, but I'll see what happens. I'm getting a little bit sick of, I like watching Yanis because he's insane when it comes to work. But I don't like the fact that he talks out of school when it comes to the whole Gwendolyn Petherick situation. That's none of his business, and it's not his place to talk about it. He should keep his mouth shut and just get on with what he does, which is he's doing renovation. If there is a problem with the Petherick family, particularly to do with Mick and Sherry, that's not for him to spread on rumours on social media or talk about it. And the woman that's renovating one of the convent apartments, she needs to shut her trap, because it's none of her business, and she does not have the right to talk about these people behind their backs. If she's been screwed over by Billy or Gwen or whomever, that's for them to sort out between the two of them. Don't go spilling the family secrets all over the internet, because that's just so wrong. It's none of your business. And I think that's all I'm going to say about that whole gossip situation. The fact that it goes on, and it's like these mean kids that never grew up from high school, that go around spreading rumors and bullying people and just being horrible. Absolutely horrible human beings. But I was able to get from those forums what I needed to support my conclusions. I met a lot of patrons and ex-patrons, so I've gotten word from mouth from the people who really matter, the people who know what's going on, and they've been screwed over as well. So I don't think I'm going to talk about it again. I just wish that these gossip forums and these mean people groups would just bugger off. And I wish that governments would just, American government, the English government or the UK government would shut these forums down. Shut the damn websites down or the apps down, because they're disgusting. They're vile and they're disgusting. And we should get rid of a lot of the chat, AI chat, because they're just tools to manipulate people. But that's just my opinion, an old lady's opinion. And I'm going to shut up now. Very long video. I apologise. But I needed to talk about this. Catch you in the next one.